And joining us now to dive into the New York City mayoral race is our great panel. Robin Biro is a Democratic strategist and former Obama regional campaign director. And Brad Polumbo is a Steamboat Institute Blankley Fellow and co-founder of Based Politics. Thank you both so much for being here. Now, it might be an off year, but New York City is seeing record turnout, especially among new voters. By Sunday night, over 700,000 had already voted, suggesting that the Big Apple could see over 2 million votes. That's a level not seen since David Dinkins and Rudy Giuliani faced off in 1989 and again in 1993. Robin, starting with you, what do you make of those numbers and what's driving New Yorkers to the polls?
Well, specifically, look at the demographics of the voters. The biggest constituency are the boomer generation who voted early, followed closely by my generation, Gen X. So I would say that those tend to be more conservative. It can be generally said that people, as they get older, tend to trend a little bit more conservative. So I would tend to think that those votes favor someone more like Cuomo or Sliwa, probably splitting the vote, than maybe more so Mamdani. But I do expect that he will end up prevailing, Mamdani, that is. It's just the only way that it would have been a viable campaign were to have been if Cuomo or Sliwa had dropped out, because with the two of them still in, they split their vote.
And Brad, same question to you. What do you make of those numbers and what's driving New Yorkers to the polls?
Well, I think the youth vote is going to be huge, and Zohran Mamdani is almost certainly going to be the next mayor of New York City. And who knows, maybe we'll get a chance to see how his far left fringe ideas will work out if actually implemented for once. There will, of course, be some serious constraints on how much he can actually do, but on areas like policing, where he has said that queer liberation requires defunding the police and had a whole career dedicated to the most radical left-wing ideas about public safety, he will have a lot of leeway and power and authority to restructure law enforcement in the city. And unless he's really had a huge change of heart from his whole career to this sudden pivot he's done in like the last 6 months to a year, I think we'll see chaos in the streets in New York City, and maybe some of the young people casting their ballots might have regrets, although unfortunately they didn't exactly have much of a appealing alternative in Andrew Cuomo either, given his record.
And Robin, it is a very high-profile race. You have the likes of Elon Musk, President Trump expressing support for Andrew Cuomo. And actually today on Truth Social, Trump said he likely won't be sending federal dollars to New York City if Mamdani wins, quote, because of the fact that as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. He added, whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. What influence is the Trump factor having on this race? Who's benefiting or hurting from it?
About the same amount as Obama's factor. And he also today said that he was available to Mamdani if Mamdani needed to speak with him and get any guidance. This last 24 hours of the campaign, I'm not certain if Mamdani has taken him up on that. That's not an endorsement per se. That is the next closest thing that is offering support as someone experienced in politics, of course, to someone, a junior like Mamdani, who is 34 years old. But it fell short of being an endorsement, just as Trump's he's supporting a Democrat, moderate, but mind you, a moderate, almost conservative Democrat, but a Democrat nonetheless. I think it's more telling that he's not supporting Curtis Sliwa, who's made it known that he's the Republican in the race.
And Brad, what do you make of this Trump factor? We are hearing some people say they're voting for Mamdani just because, anti-Trump. Others are maybe voting for Cuomo because Trump is giving his nod. What do you make of that factor?
Yeah, look, I don't think Trump's endorsement or support will have much of an impact in New York City, especially when it comes to Andrew Cuomo. And I actually think Trump is getting ahead of himself with some of these warnings. I mean, to suggest that the city will never recover or will be irreparably destroyed just because Mamdani wins, I think is not true. New York City is actually resilient, and Zohran will not be able to implement most of his far left agenda because of the state legislature and then the New York City City Council. So I think Trump's getting out ahead of his skis there. And frankly, I'm not sure his endorsement helps Cuomo massively. It probably helps him with some folks, but in New York City hurts him with many others.
And Robin, actually expanding on that, Mamdani is a self-described democratic socialist, but people like President Trump label him a communist. What do you see as the impact of Mamdani on New York City if he does become the next mayor? What are the biggest changes we'd likely see?
He's specifically said, so the other two candidates, Cuomo and Sliwa, said that they were going to expand the police force, one by 5,000, one by 7,000. In contrast, Mamdani said that he would hire public safety workers and officers and have a public safety program who don't have police power. That's quite a difference. So if there are thousands of public safety workers without police power, hopefully crime will be down. But without police power, I'm not sure to what extent. That's just for New York. What it will have is a greater impact on the Democratic Party itself. I'd like to speak about that for just 20 seconds. If he wins this election, which he's projected, which I expect him to, I expect that some of the leaders within my party will be calling for the party to go further left. Typically, anytime the Democratic Party loses a big election like the general election last year, the calls are almost always to go further left, which will be a net drag on candidates come the midterms, Tiffany.
And Brad, something not discussed as much in this debate is New York City Council. The Democrats have a supermajority there, 45 Democrats, 6 Republicans. Now, many of these races are actually up for election tomorrow, and the City Council has the power of overriding the mayor's, vetoes here. How important are these races for New York City?
Well, the city council is hugely important in the conversation about Zohran as mayor because Democrats are going to control it. But the question is, which faction of Democrats? Will it be Zohran's ideological allies, the far leftists, or will it be a more somewhat moderate centrist type of city councilor? Because then they may keep some of his tax hikes or big spending plans in check and not necessarily approve them. And he can't do it all by himself. A lot of it does require from his colleagues, his legislative colleagues' approval. So who wins some of those races will be key to see how much of a blank check Zohran ends up having to enact his utopian agenda on New York City.
Definitely a lot at stake here for sure. Brad Polumbo, Robin Biro, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you.